Chapter 24. I need to go to the Lotus Academy, she said, getting to her feet. Can you show me the way? Ka's mouth opened. He had trouble finding a response, and Tom didn't blame him. She was surprised by her own brazenness, but she didn't have much time. She didn't know how long she had in the heavens. A day, maybe two. If you think for 1 second, he said, that I'm going to help the Monkey King, you're not helping him, you're helping me. No, no way, you're coming with me. He grabbed her hand, but she yanked free, sending him bouncing across the fluffy cloud. Oh, oops, sorry! Tom scrambled to help him up. But just as she reached out to him, he started to change shape. His skin took on a shimmer, the same glow she'd mistaken for makeup before, spreading over his cheeks, down his neck, and along his hands. His body stretched, his legs elongating and merging into one serpentine limb, his mouth forming a snout with long blue whiskers, and his skin turning into shiny scales all along his body. Fully grown into his dragon form, his body twice as thick as before, stretching at least reflected off his scales, which were white at first glance, but shimmered like mother of pearl as he moved closer. Tom was so transfixed by his beauty that she didn't realize he was wrapping his serpentine body around her like a snake around a mouse. What are you doing? She demanded. Heat blossomed over her torso where he touched her. Sweat broke across her nose. I'm taking you to my father. He'll know what to do. No! She nudged at his coils, but he was stronger as a dragon than she'd expected, and the multiple layers of muscle formed a wall that was closing in tighter and tighter. No! Ka! Stop! I don't have time for this! He didn't stop until he was wrapped around her in a snug fit. Let me go before I really hurt you, she warned. He huffed, smoke trailing out of his nose. You're strong, but you're not fireproof. Her skin was now so hot it felt like she was developing a fever. Something caught her eye in the distance. At first, she couldn't make out the shapes until they came closer. Soldiers on foot, some on the backs of flying horses the size of elephants. Were these the horses the Monkey King had been put in charge of? They were huge! The sun reflected off their jade helmets and gold saddles as they galloped in the air, heading straight for her and Ka. Ka saw them too, and swept toward them, dragging Tom within his coils. She panicked and shoved harder at him, and this time he winced, unwinding just a little. She sucked in a breath, and with enough space now, kicked. Ka cried out and uncoiled entirely, and she used the moment to drag herself out of his grip. And straight off the cloud. Someone was screaming. It was her. She flailed her arms as if that would help her stop her fall. Above her, sky. Below her, endless mist. Why are you screaming? Ka's voice cut in. I'm falling! No, you're not. She looked over her shoulder to prove her point and discovered that he was right. He peered at her from the cloud she'd just fallen off, which was actually right above her still. She was floating. Why aren't I falling? This is the heavens. That's not a thing here. So I can... Tom did an awkward frog kick and glided forward, sort of like swimming. I can fly, she said. She looked up and saw the Jade Palace, covered in jewels, the tallest building on the highest cloud. A glow appeared around the palace, as if its jewels were illuminated from the inside. If she could just make it up there. Oh, no, you don't! Ka zipped toward her so fast she reacted out of instinct and swung her fist, hitting him in the side of his dragon head. Ouch! She shrieked, shaking out her scalded hand. His scales were burning hot, like a car door handle that had been parked in the sun all day. He jerked to the side, blinking slowly. She used the moment to swim fly and found that when she focused on an object in the distance, she seemed to go faster. But the Jade soldiers were getting closer, and it was only a matter of time before Ka caught up with her. She landed on the nearest cloud, which housed a white building several stories tall. She ran up the steps and through the door, slamming it shut behind her. She was inside a huge lobby, and everything was made of white marble. Above her, a glass ceiling opened into the heavens, casting the building in bright daylight that reflected off the stone and made everything shine. A girl stared at her, wide-eyed. Help! Tom gasped, out of breath. What's wrong? The girl wore white robes with an embroidered collar, too fancy to be a servant. Someone's chasing me, Tom said. For once, she was grateful for her small size, which made her look weak and helpless, a magnet for people who wanted to be heroes. The girl took one look at her and pulled Tom quickly from the door. I know where you can hide. Thank you. Tom didn't look back as they ran. Who's chasing you? The girl asked as they moved through the labyrinthian halls. And why? Beneath the white marble surface of the walls, something shimmered, reflecting light from the glass ceiling. This dragon! I don't know why. He just... Here. The girl opened a closet door and pushed Tom inside. Let me see if I can get rid of him. Tom didn't know what to think, but the girl was gone, and she was alone in the small space. It was a storage room for a bunch of wooden fighting staffs cluttered in the corner. Something moved in her pocket. Was it her phone? Had Ma woken up to discover that Tom was missing? Her screen was black. She had no signal. Tom put the phone away and then almost yelped as her hand brushed against something. Furry. And that furry thing wrapped its arms, claws, tentacles, legs around her finger. She yanked her hand out, then slammed the other one over her mouth. A tiny, tiny Monkey King was swinging from her pinky finger and grinning. He couldn't be much taller than her thumb. Hello, Tom-Tom, he squeaked. He sounded like someone who had inhaled air from a helium balloon. He tried to fly, but could only manage a tall leap before landing on his butt, groaning. My powers are diminished, he wailed. Tom was so relieved that he was there. She leaned against the door, but it didn't make sense. I thought you were banished from the heavens. I am. However, I knew that a single hair could pass through the veil. I just wasn't sure I would be able to manifest in my true form once we made it to the other side. She lowered her voice. I still don't get it. I can duplicate myself with my hair, remember? Each golden hair is a piece of me. She'd forgotten about that. The skin on the back of Tom's hand itched, and she scratched it absent-mindedly, wondering what to do next. Where are we? He asked. I don't know. I was running from Ka. The gangly snake noodle is here? The tiny Monkey King punched and kicked the air. Take him down, Tom-Tom. If he tells the gods you're here, they will send you to the other place. The other place? What? Why? That's the punishment for breaking into the heavens. For a second, she couldn't speak. Why hadn't he told her before she'd agreed to the plan? She wanted to throttle the Monkey King, but he was so tiny right now that it wouldn't be a fair fight. You didn't tell me that! I didn't know the snake would follow you. There was a knock at the door. Who's that? The Monkey King squeaked. This girl, Tom whispered. She helped me hide. I have to go. Put me behind your ear, he suggested. She lifted him to her face. His hands tickled as he climbed over the ridge of her ear and tucked himself snugly against her head. Can you hear me? He shouted. Ouch! Yes, maybe a little quieter. Okay, he whispered. He tugged her hair around himself like a curtain. Better. She took a deep breath, still reeling from what he'd told her. If she took too much time, she'd be stuck here forever and never see Ma again. But if someone caught her, she would have even bigger problems. She didn't want to get sent to the other place. She needed to find out where that cudgel was, and quickly. She opened the door, but she must have pulled too hard because the entire thing broke off, leaving gaping holes in the frame where the hinges had been. Tom, the Monkey King breathed in her ear, adding to her horror. If he was shocked, then she'd really messed up. No, no, no! Tom tried to put the door back, but it stayed upright for only a few seconds before it leaned over and fell with a slam that shook the whole building. The whole cloud, maybe. Tom winced. Then she looked up and found herself face to face with the girl. She must have been so close to Tom's age, maybe 12 or 13. Her jet black hair contrasted with her framed pale face. Her eyes were round. How did you do that? The girl asked. I'm sorry, Tom blurted. I didn't mean to. I can't control it. Control what? Tom bit her lip. I'm strong, really strong, and I'm so sorry. How had she done that? She'd barely touched the door. You must be stronger in the heavens, the Monkey King whispered. My powers are diminished here, but your power has increased. But what did that mean? She wished she could ask him, but the girl was looking at her. It's fine, the girl said. The dragon chasing you is gone. I told him you left the academy. Did that mean this was the Lotus Academy, the one the Monkey King had talked about? He's dealing with the Jade Soldiers now, the girl said. They're mad that he caused needless trouble when they were already so busy. Tom exhaled, suppressing the guilt she felt because she'd gotten Ka in trouble. Thank you. How do you know Ka? The girl asked Tom. You know Ka? He's my arch nemesis, she said, matter-of-factly. Oh, Tom wondered what Paul had to do to earn an arch nemesis, and what did that mean that the girl would help her? "I'm Tom," she said. "Who are you?" "I'm Jay." She held out a hand, surprisingly grown-up thing to do. As Tom focused on not gripping too hard and hurting the girl, she noticed a green stone glinting off Jay's finger. "How is Kyle your arch nemesis?" Tom asked. "He's the bane of my existence, the most annoying person I've ever met. He's obnoxious and relentless." Wow. Tom didn't think Kyle was that bad, despite the fact that she'd punched him earlier. That was out of self-defense. He was actually starting to grow on her, even though he kept getting in her way. She knew he meant well. He just didn't understand what she was going through. "He was chasing you?" Jay asked. Tom couldn't think of a lie fast enough, so she told the truth. "He wanted to take me to his father." "The general?" Wait, Kyle's father was the general? Tom was starting to get a headache. There were so many things she didn't know. Had his father sent him to the mortal world on some sort of military mission? He'd said that he'd been sent here to stop the Monkey King, and that meant she needed to keep as far away from the general as possible. "Why?" Jay asked. "Is it because of your strength? Is Carl trying to recruit you for the general's division?" Something tickled Tom's ear. The Monkey King. Tom bit back a laugh. "I am strong," she blurted out as the Monkey King crawled back down her neck. "Her ring," he whispered, but she couldn't ask what he meant. "How strong are you?" Jay asked. "Like really strong. I can lift up an 18-wheeler. At the girl's confusion, Tom added, "It's a really heavy, vehicle. It weighs tons." Jay's expression cleared. "Are you as strong as the boy giant?" "I don't know. I don't think so. He's a god, right? I was, Tom said, just a mortal." "The boy giant was too before he became one of the four. Have you talked to him? He could tell you more about yourself." "Talk to him? Come on, I can show you to his office." "Oh, that's very nice of you, but you're probably busy." She needed to get to the Jade Palace and to the armory. She didn't have time to talk to the boy giant, no matter how much she wanted to learn about herself. There was no point, not unless he could take her power away. And even if Tom learned to control it, Kathy knew now and would tell everyone. Tom didn't have any choice but to steal the cudgel so the Monkey King could get rid of her strength. The girl insisted. "I was on my way to see him anyway. Besides, we need to tell someone about that." Jay nodded at the broken door. Tom scratched the back of her hands, then stuffed them in her pockets, but she didn't see any way out of it. "Yes, yes," the monkey whispered from her hair. "Follow her. We need that ring." "Okay," Tom said weakly. "Where is it?" "It's here in the Lotus Academy," Jay said. "The boy giant hasn't been here too long, just a decade or so." Jay didn't think a decade was long. How old was this girl? Tom looked around at the high ceilings, the white marble floors and walls. The place was plain and yet somehow opulent. Its minimal decor said more about how important it was than any glittering chandeliers or heavy furniture could. This is where the Lotus students trained to become Jade soldiers. After the boy giant came back from the mortal realm, he secluded himself for years, and we all thought we'd never see him again, like the rest of the four, Jay said as they walked. But then the Lotus Master convinced him to use his experience to trade the Jade Army. Tom ogled everything they passed. Inside open doors, students gathered in white robes, some sparring and fighting, some meditating, some studying from heavy books. No one paid attention to Tom or Jay, too focused on their own activities. They reached a suite of rooms. Jay knocked gently on the door to the back of the suite, and she didn't want to startle whoever was inside. "Master, are you there?" "Yes," a nervous-sounding voice answered through the door. "Who is it?" "We don't have an appointment, do we?" "It's Jay. Father asked me to give you something, and there's someone here who wants to talk to you." A moment of silence before the door opened, and Tom came face to face with the boy giant.